The night sky over Aeloria was heavy with silver clouds, hiding the full moon behind a veil of shadows. In the deep forests at the edge of the kingdom, whispers of old curses and lost legends moved with the wind, brushing against the branches like unseen fingers. Leora, a young noblewoman with hair as dark as midnight and eyes reflecting the moonlight, walked carefully along the forest path. Her heart pounded not from fear alone, but from the strange thrill that surged whenever she dared to step beyond the safe walls of her family estate. She had been raised to obey, to serve, to marry where duty demanded. But something within her, a quiet flame, yearned for more. The stories of the cursed wolf-born clan fascinated her in secret, tales her parents forbade her to hear, and tonight, curiosity had lured her into the forest, under the soft gleam of moonlight, where the unknown waited. Leora's senses were alive. Every rustle, every shadow, seemed to whisper her name. Then, a sudden movement caught her eye. A figure, massive and poised, stepping silently between the trees. Kale, the alpha of the wolfborn, appeared as if he had grown from the shadows themselves. His presence was commanding, his tall frame exuding power and authority. Golden eyes, sharp and penetrating, locked onto hers. She felt as if the world had narrowed to the space between them. Who walks in the wolf-born forest unbidden? His voice was deep, smooth, carrying a strength that made the air around her quiver. I am Leora, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I mean no harm. I am only curious. Kale's eyes narrowed slightly, scanning her from head to toe. His instincts prickled a heat rising within him that came only under the full moon. He could sense something unique about her, something powerful yet untouched. Most humans, most nobles, would have fled at the sight of him, yet she did not. Fear flickered in her eyes, yes, but beneath it was a strange courage that intrigued him. You should leave, he said, his tone warning yet calm. The forest is not safe for your kind. I cannot, she said softly, stepping closer despite the warning. Not tonight. A low growl vibrated in Kale's chest, more from fascination than anger. The heat in him surged, a primal rhythm tied to the moon above. He had never felt a pull like this before toward a human, and yet, something deeper whispered that this encounter was destined, bound by forces neither fully understood. For a long moment, they simply stared, the forest holding its breath around them. Leora felt drawn to him, a dangerous magnetism she could neither name nor resist. Kale felt it too, a bond that promised passion and peril in equal measure. Finally, he spoke, stepping closer, careful yet unrestrained. One night, he murmured, almost to himself. One night, and the bond could bind us forever. Leora's heart skipped. A bond, she whispered, though somehow she understood. The air between them was thick with unspoken desire, a longing that neither could fully explain. Do you know what that means? Kale asked, his voice lower, resonant. If I take you, the clan will never forgive it. And yet, I cannot resist. She trembled, not from fear, but from the tension, the thrill of danger, the pulse of something forbidden. Then, perhaps some things are worth the risk, she said softly, daring herself to speak the words she had never dared aloud. Kale's golden eyes softened, just for a moment, revealing a depth of feeling that surprised even him. Slowly, he reached out, brushing a lock of hair from her face. His touch was electric, sending shivers down her spine. Tonight, he said, voice almost a growl, you will see the truth of the wolfborn. But once you do, there will be no turning back. The forest seemed to close around them, shadows dancing as if in answer to the unspoken bond. Leora nodded, her pulse racing with anticipation and fear. She felt herself stepping across a threshold, leaving the safety of the known world behind. Kale led her to a clearing bathed in moonlight, the ground soft with moss and silver leaves. The air was thick with the scent of pine, earth, and something more primal, something that made her heart ache with longing. She could feel the heat radiating from him, the raw power contained in every movement. And yet, there was a strange gentleness in the way he guided her, a care that belied his wild nature. "Sit," he commanded softly, though it was more suggestion than order. She obeyed, her gaze fixed on him. Kale crouched before her, close enough that the warmth of his body brushed against hers. "You are unlike any I have met," he said. "The heat of the moon stirs something in me. But it is your courage, your spirit, that truly calls me." Leora swallowed hard, her throat dry. "And if I am afraid?" she asked, daring to meet his gaze. "Then I will protect you," he said, his voice firm yet tender. "But no, this fear cannot hide the truth of what binds us. You feel it as strongly as I do." Her pulse thundered in her ears. She could not deny the truth of it, the undeniable tension, the energy that seemed to thrum between them like a living thing. She had stepped into the forest, seeking curiosity, but she had found something far more profound, a connection that defied reason, a bond that whispered of destiny, danger, and desire. Kale's eyes darkened as the moon broke through the clouds, casting silver light across his features. He reached for her hand, and when she allowed it, the world seemed to fall away. The forest faded, leaving only the heat of his touch and the magnetic pull between them. "Tonight," he murmured again, brushing his thumb across her knuckles, "you will give yourself to the first moon, to me. And in doing so, you will change everything." Leora's heart raced. She knew the weight of his words. One night could seal their fates, could awaken powers neither of them fully understood. And yet she could not look away. There was a fire in her chest, a longing that demanded to be acknowledged. She nodded, barely breathing. Kale leaned closer, his lips brushing her temple in a whisper of promise. The bond hummed between them, a thread of light in the shadowed forest. "Do you trust me?" he asked, voice low, filled with both command and plea. "Yes," she whispered. It was all she could say, yet it carried the weight of defiance, courage, and surrender all at once. For a moment, time seemed to pause. The wind held its breath. The forest waited. And then, as Kale's hand lifted to her cheek, the silver moonlight broke through the clouds, illuminating them in a glow that felt sacred, destined, and forbidden all at once. The first spark of their bond ignited, a heat neither fully understood. Leora felt it coil within her, a fire of desire and fear, of longing and power. Kale felt it too, the raw, primal pull that was more than instinct, something ancient, mystical, and undeniable. The forest seemed to lean closer, shadows swaying as if to witness their union. Leora closed her eyes, feeling the brush of Kale's hands, the warmth of his presence, the pulse of the bond that tied them together. This night, the first night, would change everything. And then, a sudden rustle at the edge of the clearing startled them both. Kale tensed, instincts flaring. "We are not alone," he murmured. "Someone is watching." Leora opened her eyes, her heart hammering. The forest seemed darker somehow, as if it sensed the danger of what they were about to do. The bond between them pulled tighter, stronger, demanding acknowledgement, even as a shadow lingered at the edge of the moonlight. Kale's golden eyes blazed. "No matter what comes," he said, voice low and fierce, "this night is ours, and the bond cannot be broken." Leora's breath caught. She felt the weight of destiny pressing down, the thrill of forbidden fire rising within her. One night, one moonlit night, had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The forest seemed to hold its breath as they stepped closer, hearts beating in sync, drawn together by an invisible force. And far beyond the trees, in the shadows, something ancient and watchful stirred, aware that the bond between the human and the alpha had begun, a bond that could either save or destroy them both. The moon hung high over the wolf-born territory, casting silver light across the dense forest. Leora's heart still raced from the night in the clearing. She could feel the lingering warmth of Kale's hands and the spark of the bond that had tied them together. Every time she thought of him, a shiver ran through her, equal parts fear and longing. She knew now that the legends were true. The Wolfborn were not ordinary beings. They were powerful, dangerous, and magnetic. Kale led her deeper into the forest, moving with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. His golden eyes were alert, scanning every shadow, every sound. He had brought her here not as a captive, but as someone he trusted, someone he wanted to protect. Though the intensity of his desire for her made control difficult, Leora could feel it in the air around him. The heat of the moon amplified his instincts, and the bond between them made every glance, every touch, heavier with meaning. "You must understand," Kale said as they reached a clearing surrounded by towering trees. "The Wolfborn have rules. You are different from the others. The bond you share with me will not be easy to explain, and the clan may not accept it, but I will not let anyone harm you." Leora swallowed hard, feeling both awe and fear. I trust you," she whispered, though she could feel the tension coiling inside her. "But what happens if the bond changes things?" Kale's eyes softened as he studied her. "It already has," he admitted. "The bond is stronger than either of us imagined. It touches everything: your heart, your spirit, even your power. You may not see it yet, but it is awakening something inside you. Something dangerous, something beautiful." The forest seemed to hum around them as Leora processed his words. She had always felt ordinary, bound by duty, constrained by the expectations of her family. But with Kale, she felt alive. She felt fire, energy, and a strange magic stirring within her. It frightened her, yet it also filled her with a sense of possibility she had never known. Kale knelt beside her, his gaze unwavering. "Tonight, you will learn more about who you are," he said. "And you will see why the bond cannot be ignored." He extended his hand, and Leora placed hers in his. Instantly, warmth and electricity coursed through her veins, stronger than anything she had ever felt. The forest seemed to react, the shadows deepening and stretching, as if acknowledging the connection between them. "Focus on the bond," Kale instructed softly. "Feel it. Don't fight it. Let it guide you." Leora closed her eyes, letting her breath slow, feeling the pulse of Kale's heartbeat alongside her own. At first, it was overwhelming: the heat, the intensity, the raw power coursing between them. But gradually, she began to sense something else. A rhythm, a connection, a thread of energy that linked them in a way that felt ancient, sacred, and unbreakable. "You are stronger than you know," Kale murmured. "The bond is awakening what was always inside you. You must learn to control it, or it may consume you." Leora opened her eyes and saw a flicker of something she had not expected. Pride, determination, and courage. "I will," she said firmly. "I want to understand. I want to control it." Kale nodded, his gaze intense. "Good. But there is more to this than power. The bond is also desire. It stirs feelings you may not be ready to face. You must be honest with yourself. Honest with me." Leora felt heat rise to her cheeks. She had sensed the desire between them, the magnetic pull that had drawn her to him in the clearing. Yet now she understood it in a new, deeper way. It was not just attraction, it was part of the bond, part of the magic that tied them together. I think I'm ready," she whispered. "Even if it scares me." Kale's lips curved into a small, approving smile. "Then we will begin." He guided her to a circle of stones that glowed faintly under the moonlight. "These stones are older than the kingdom itself," Kale explained. "They were placed here to help control and channel the Wolfborn power. Tonight, they will help you control yours." Leora stepped into the circle, feeling the ancient energy hum beneath her feet. The bond between her and Kale seemed to pulse stronger here, feeding off the magic of the stones. She could feel Kale beside her, every breath, every heartbeat amplifying the power that surged through her. "Close your eyes," Kale instructed. "Feel me. Feel the bond. Let it guide you." Leora obeyed, letting the heat of his presence wash over her. She felt the energy swirl, coiling like fire in her veins, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes gentle. Kale's voice was steady, grounding her, reminding her that she was not alone. "Good," he murmured. "Now reach deeper. Do not fear it." As she did, the energy expanded, and she saw glimpses of visions, images of the Wolfborn, of the forest, of her self-wielding power she had never imagined. Each vision carried a lesson, a warning, a call to strength. And through it all, Kale's hand remained at hers, guiding, steadying, grounding her against the rising tide of magic. When she opened her eyes again, she felt different, stronger, more certain, more alive. The bond had deepened, connecting them in ways that were both thrilling and terrifying. She could sense Kale's heat now in a way that went beyond instinct. It was a connection of spirit as well as body. Desire mingled with trust, power intertwined with care. Kale's gaze softened as he studied her. "You did well," he said quietly. "Not many could endure what you just experienced." Leora nodded, breathless. "I felt everything. And I felt you. I think I understand a little more now." "Good," Kale said, his voice low and rough with emotion. "Because what comes next is more dangerous. The clan will test the bond. They will not understand it, and neither may you fully. But the bond will guide you through it, if you trust it, and trust me." Suddenly, a distant howl echoed through the trees, sharp and urgent. Kyle stiffened, his golden eyes flashing with alertness. "The others are near," he said. "They will not approve of our closeness. You must be ready." Leora's pulse quickened, both with fear and anticipation. "What will they do?" she asked. Kale's jaw tightened. "Some may try to separate us, to challenge the bond, to test your strength. But remember this, no force can break what is truly ours. The bond is stronger than any law, any fear, any enemy." The howl came again, closer this time, and Leora felt the tension in the forest rise. Shadows moved between the trees, shifting and coiling as if alive. Kale stepped protectively in front of her, muscles tensed, instincts flaring. His heat surged, responding to the threat, but controlled by the bond and the magic that now pulsed between them. "You are safe with me," he murmured, his hand brushing hers, grounding her. "No harm will come to you while I am here. But we must be ready for what is coming." Leora nodded, drawing strength from his words and from the bond itself. The fear that had once gripped her was replaced by determination. She had faced the unknown and survived, and now she could face whatever tests the clan or the world might place before them. A shadow moved at the edge of the clearing, a dark figure watching from the trees. Kale's eyes narrowed. "They are testing us," he said. "The clan will not understand the bond, but we will show them its power and its truth." Leora felt her heart beat in tandem with his. The danger, the desire, the bond, it all coiled around them like a living thing. And in that moment, she realized something profound. She did not want to turn away from it. She did not want to run. She wanted the bond, the heat, the power, and the closeness of Kale that had awakened something in her she had never known. The moon shone brighter, illuminating the clearing, the stones, and the two of them standing together. And as the shadow moved closer, revealing the first signs of the clan's challenge, Leora and Kale braced themselves. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The bond was theirs, now strong, forbidden, and undeniable. And as the first spark of the clan's test approached, Leora understood that her life had changed forever. The night had begun, and with it, a path of danger, passion, and destiny that neither of them could escape. The forest had grown darker, the silver moonlight struggling to pierce the thick canopy. Leora's heart raced as the shadows of the Wolfborn clan emerged from between the trees. Each figure was lithe, strong, and alert, eyes gleaming with suspicion and authority. She felt the weight of their stares, the silent questions hanging in the air. Her bond with Kael pulsed through her, keeping her grounded and giving her courage she hadn't known she possessed. Kael stepped forward, his presence commanding. His golden eyes flashed with fire and warning. "This is my companion," he announced to the clan, his voice deep and steady. "She shares my bond, and she is under my protection." A murmur ran through the gathering. The elders of the Wolfborn clan, tall and fierce, exchanged sharp glances. One of them, a woman with eyes like obsidian and hair like the night, stepped forward. "Kael," she said, her voice both cold and commanding. "You know the laws. No human may share the heat of an alpha. The bond you speak of is forbidden." Kael's jaw tightened. "I know the law," he said. "But the bond exists. It cannot be ignored, and it cannot be denied." Leora felt a strange mixture of fear and pride. The clan's scrutiny was intimidating. Yet she also felt the bond's protective strength surrounding her. It gave her courage she had never felt before. The elder woman's eyes narrowed. "Then you will be tested," she declared. "If the bond is true, it will endure the trials. If it is false, it will be severed. And the consequences will be grave." Leora's pulse quickened. She had expected challenges, but the weight of the clan's judgment pressed on her chest. She glanced at Kael, who gave her a small, reassuring nod. "We are ready," he whispered, his hand brushing against hers, grounding her. The first trial was a test of strength and control. The clan led them to a clearing, where ancient stones formed a circle. Glowing faintly in the moonlight, Kael and Leora were to enter together, their bond guiding them through the challenge. "Focus on the bond," Kael instructed. "Do not fear it. Let it protect you, and let it guide you." Leora closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of Kael's hand and the pulse of their connection. The magic within her began to stir, a fiery current that coiled through her veins. She had felt sparks before, but now the energy was stronger, weaving around them both, binding them to the circle and to each other. The stones glowed brighter, responding to the bond. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, illusions meant to test their focus and unity. Leora felt herself sway, almost losing control. Kael's hand tightened around hers, grounding her. "Steady," he whispered. "We face it together." The illusions became more intense visions of danger, whispers of fear, and flashes of power beyond her understanding. Leora's body trembled as she felt the magic rise within her. She glimpsed a shadowed future where she was consumed by the curse her family carried. A future where she and Kael could never be together. "Do not let it take you," Kael said, his voice firm yet gentle. "I am here. We are one." She drew a deep breath, centering herself on the bond. The fear slowly receded, replaced by a clarity she had never known. The circle of stones pulsed with light, and the illusions dissolved. Leora opened her eyes to see Kael smiling, pride and relief shining through his golden gaze. "You endured," he said softly, "and in doing so, you strengthened the bond." But there was no time to rest. The elders motioned them to the second trial, a test of loyalty and courage. They were to face the forest itself, which shifted and twisted with the curse that lingered in the land. The trees seemed alive, their branches reaching like hands, their roots twisting underfoot. Kael led Leora forward, their bond keeping them connected, hearts and spirits aligned. She could feel his heat, the rise and fall of his chest, the strength in his presence. It was more than desire now. It was a tether of survival, courage, and shared destiny. Suddenly, a creature emerged from the shadows, a massive wolf, larger and more fearsome than any she had ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a strange light, and it bared its teeth, testing them. Leora froze for a moment, but Kael stepped forward, radiating strength and command. "Together," he said, and they moved as one. Leora felt the bond guide her, her instincts heightened by the shared energy between them. The creature lunged, and she sidestepped, feeling Kale's power supporting her, enhancing her every movement. They struck in unison, forcing the wolf back without harming it, a display of harmony and control rather than aggression. The clan watched in silence, impressed by the synergy between the human and the alpha. Leora realized that the bond was not just about desire. It was about trust, unity, and mutual strength. She felt a sense of pride swell within her. Kale's gaze met hers, and in that moment, no words were necessary. Their hearts beat together, their souls connected by a force that neither law nor legend could break. But even as they celebrated their success, the final trial approached a test of the bond's deepest truth. They were led to a cliff overlooking the forest, where the wind howled and the shadows of the trees danced like ghosts. Here, the bond would be challenged in its most intimate and personal way. By confronting their deepest fears and desires, you must trust completely, Kale said, his voice low and steady. The bond will reveal everything: your fears, your strengths, your heart. And it will reveal mine. Leora nodded, feeling a flutter of fear and anticipation. She had come so far, endured so much, yet she knew this trial would be the most challenging. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes, letting the bond flow freely between them. Visions came to her: moments of loss, of failure, of heartache she had tried to bury. She saw herself alone, consumed by the family curse, separated from Kale forever. But then, she felt his presence, strong and unyielding, anchoring her, shielding her from despair. You are not alone, Kale whispered, his voice echoing in her mind. We are one. Fear cannot break us. The visions shifted, revealing flashes of desire, closeness, and the intense heat that had sparked between them in the clearing. Leora's body responded instinctively, a surge of energy passing through her, mingling with the bond. But Kale's touch, steady and protective, reminded her that this was more than passion. It was connection, power, and trust. Through the trial, Leora felt herself transform. She understood now that the bond was not just about Kale, not just about desire. It was about becoming whole, embracing her power, and facing the world without fear. Kale's heat, his intensity, was part of it, yes, but it was balanced by his care, his respect, and the trust he placed in her. When the visions ended, they opened their eyes together. The wind stilled, the moonlight softened, and the clan watched in stunned silence. Leora felt different, stronger, more certain, more connected to Kale and to herself than ever before. The elder woman stepped forward, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. The bond is real, she admitted, stronger than we imagined. It is not forbidden because it is unnatural. It is forbidden because it is dangerous. And yet, it cannot be broken. Kale's golden eyes met hers, filled with relief, pride, and something deeper. The bond is ours, he said softly, brushing her hair from her face. No law, no curse, no fear can change that. But even as they shared this quiet triumph, a new tension emerged. The curse that had haunted Leora's family began to stir more intensely. Reacting to the power of the bond, shadows flickered at the edge of the clearing, whispers of magic and danger that promised trials yet to come. Leora felt a chill run through her, not of fear, but of anticipation. She had faced the clan's trials, discovered her power, and deepened her bond with Kale, but the curse was still alive, still watching, and still waiting. Kale sensed it too, his golden eyes scanning the forest. The real test is only beginning, he said. The bond has grown, yes, but the curse, it will demand a price. And we must be ready. Leora's hand tightened in his, drawing strength from the connection that had carried them through every trial. Then we face it together, she said, her voice firm. Whatever comes, we will not let it break us. Kale nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Together, he agreed, and as the wind swept through the trees, Carrying whispers of the curse and the forest's ancient power, they stood side by side, ready to face the next chapter of their destiny. The forest was alive with tension, every shadow seeming to move with purpose. Leora clung to Kale's hand, their bond thrumming between them. A pulse of fire and light that kept her steady. The distant cry from the depths of the forest had grown closer, sharper, echoing like a warning. Kale's golden eyes glowed, scanning the darkness for the source, muscles tensed and ready to strike. "This is it," Kale said softly, his voice low but firm. "The curse is waking. Whatever comes, we face it together." Leora nodded, drawing courage from him, from the bond that had grown stronger with every trial. She could feel the heat of his presence, the protective power that surged through him, and she realized that their connection was more than desire. It was strength, trust, and destiny woven together. The shadows moved, taking shape. Figures emerged from the darkness, twisted and distorted. Echoes of the ancient curse that had haunted her family for generations. Their eyes glowed like embers, their forms flickered between human and beast, and a low growl rolled through the clearing. Kale stepped forward, placing himself between Leora and the creatures. "Stay close," he commanded. "Do not fear. The bond will guide us." Leora's heart pounded, but she did not run. She raised her head, feeling the pulse of the bond, the surge of magic that intertwined them. Her hands glowed faintly, a soft light emanating from the energy the bond had awakened within her. She had trained, endured the trials, and learned to channel the power. Now, it would be tested like never before. The creatures lunged. Kale moved with them, a force of strength and precision, parrying and redirecting their attacks without a hint of hesitation. Leora mirrored his movements, letting the bond guide her hands, her steps, her instincts. Together, they moved as one, a single unit of fire, light, and power. One of the creatures broke free, rushing toward Leora with a roar. Kyle reacted instantly, throwing himself between her and the threat. Their hands met, and the bond surged, a wave of energy that sent the creature staggering back. Leora felt it, the full power of their connection. It was not just protection. It was creation, energy, and control, all at once. "You see?" Kale said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Leora's pulse quickened, and a wave of understanding washed over her. This was why the bond had chosen them. Why it had awakened under the moonlight. It was not only desire, it was destiny. A force to challenge the darkness that had haunted her family for centuries. The creatures regrouped, their forms swirling, their eyes burning with ancient malice. Kale drew her closer, their foreheads touching. "Focus," he whispered. "We end this together." Leora closed her eyes, letting the bond flow freely. She could feel Kale's strength, his heat, his unwavering resolve. She drew from it, adding her own courage and power, letting the energy surge outward. The ground trembled as a wave of light and heat expanded from them, forcing the shadowed creatures back. But the curse was not done. From the darkness emerged a larger, more formidable presence. A shadowed figure, cloaked in black mist, eyes glowing red. The ancient power of the curse had taken shape, feeding on the fear and tension around it. Its voice echoed in the clearing, deep and resonant. "Fools," it hissed. "You cannot defy me. The bond will break, you will fail." Kale's jaw tightened. "We will see," he growled. He turned to Leora, eyes blazing. "Are you ready?" Leora's hand tightened around his. "I am," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the storm of energy surrounding them. "We are ready." The shadow lunged, a whirlwind of darkness and malice. Kale stepped forward, channeling the bond, his heat and strength amplifying Leora's power. She felt herself rise, energy flowing through her like wildfire, guided by the Alpha's presence and the shared bond. Together, they met the curse head-on, their combined light and power clashing with the dark force. The battle raged, the forest trembling with energy, trees swaying under the strain of the unleashed magic. Kale's roars and Leora's focused chants intertwined, harmonizing into a force that neither shadow nor darkness could withstand. Their connection was absolute, each heartbeat, each breath, each surge of heat and energy perfectly aligned. For a moment, it seemed as though the curse would overwhelm them, its power ancient and relentless. But Leora drew deeper from the bond, letting Kale's strength and her own courage fuse into one unstoppable force. She felt the curse falter, its shadows breaking, its voice weakening. "No!" The darkness hissed, writhing and shrinking under the surge of energy. Kale's eyes burned brighter than ever, golden light spilling from him as he roared, "You will not claim her! You will not claim us!" With a final, powerful surge, Leora and Kale unleashed the bond fully. Light and heat erupted around them, consuming the shadows, purifying the forest, and shattering the ancient curse that had lingered for generations. The dark presence dissolved into nothingness, leaving silence in its wake. Leora collapsed into Kale's arms, breathless but exhilarated. The bond still pulsed between them, but now it was steady, calm, and complete. She looked up at him, seeing not just the fierce alpha, but the protector, the partner, the man who had shared his heat, his heart, and his destiny with her. Kale rested his forehead against hers, golden eyes soft and filled with wonder. "You did it," he said quietly. "We did it." Leora smiled, exhaustion and relief mingling. "We are stronger than I ever imagined," she whispered. The forest had returned to calm, the moonlight illuminating the clearing with a serene glow. The stones, once glowing with ritual power, now shimmered faintly, as if acknowledging the bond and the victory. Leora realized that not only had they defeated the curse, but they had transformed it, turning fear and danger into strength and unity. Kale pulled her close, holding her protectively. "The bond is no longer forbidden," he said softly, voice filled with awe. "It is sacred. It is ours." Leora rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "I never knew it could feel like this," she admitted. "Not just desire, but trust, power, and courage, all together." Kale's lips brushed the top of her head. "It is rare," he said. "Rare for a bond to be both passionate and protective, both heat and harmony. But ours is perfect." A gentle breeze swept through the forest, carrying the scent of pine and the faint, lingering magic of the broken curse. Leora felt it in her bones, in her heart, in the very air around her. The world had shifted, and she and Kale were at the center of that change. They walked from the clearing together, hand in hand, the bond between them unbreakable. Leora felt the power within her settle into something steady and controllable, guided by Kale's strength and their shared connection. They were no longer two separate beings drawn together. They were one force, a unity of heat, magic, and heart. Kale paused on the edge of the forest, golden eyes scanning the horizon. "The world may not understand us," he said. "But it does not matter. We have faced the impossible and emerged stronger. The bond cannot be undone." Leora nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude and love. "We have faced it together," she said. "And we will face everything else together too." He smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Together," he repeated. And in that word, Leora felt the weight of promise, of destiny, of love that was no longer forbidden, but honored. The moon hung high above, its silver light casting a serene glow over the forest. For the first time in generations, the wolf-born lands were calm, the curse broken, and the bond between human and alpha complete. Leora and Kale stood side by side, their hearts beating in sync, the heat of their connection radiating warmth and power that neither law, legend, nor curse could ever diminish. And as dawn began to creep over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose, Leora realized that the night that had begun in fear, desire, and uncertainty had transformed her life forever. She had faced darkness, temptation, and destiny, and emerged whole, bonded, and stronger than ever. Kale wrapped his arms around her, holding her close as the first light of day broke through the trees. "No matter what comes," he whispered, "nothing can undo what we have become." Leora smiled, resting her head against his chest, feeling the steady pulse of their bond. "Nothing," she agreed, and in that moment, the forbidden had become sacred, the heat had become harmony, and their love had become legend.